From the publishers of the award-winning Ghostal comes Haunticulture. Take control of your ghastly gardeners as you attempt to outbid your fellow ghosts for petrifying plants and eerie ornaments, all to make the most frightening flower bed of all. For setup, take the greenhouse cards and use them to frame a 3x3 grid on the table. If playing 4 players, add an extra greenhouse card in the top and bottom rows to make a 3x4 grid. Next, take the plant and ornament scoring cards and lay them out above the play area so everyone can see them. If this is your first time playing, make sure the plant cards all have the basic version face up. Take all the square plant and ornament tiles and chuck them in the bag. Give them a good shake, then draw and place a tile on each greenhouse card. Take the special monster cards with the purple backs, give them a good shuffle, and place the deck face down by the greenhouse cards. Draw and flip 4 cards from this deck to form a row of special monsters the players can purchase during the game. Now give each player a flower bed player board and have them stack 2 gold coins in each corner of the board, plus 1 gold coin in the middle. Then give them their starting hand of 6 starter monster cards and 3 player marker tiles in their player colour. Determine the first player and give them the Scarecrow first player marker. Give the first player 1 gold coin, the second player 2 gold, third player 3 gold, and fourth player 4 gold. Finally, shuffle the secret objective deck and give each player 2 secret objective cards face down. Each player should look at and choose one of these to keep face down in front of them. The other is returned to the box. Gameplay is split into 3 phases. The first is the gardening phase, where players will take turns playing a monster card from their hand into the grid until all spaces between the greenhouse cards are full. Each monster card has a number at the top, representing their skill at gardening. Playing a monster card into a spot in the grid shows that player is bidding for the plant and ornament tiles at the end of both the row and column the monster card is now in. Also, when a monster card is played, it immediately triggers its top special ability. For the zombie, this will let the player grab a gold coin. However, you'll see each monster has a more powerful bottom ability. If a player happens to play a monster card into a position where it will form a 3 in a row of the same monster type, the bottom ability will trigger instead. So in this example, the red player places a 3rd zombie in the grid and forms 3 zombies in a row. They instead get to take any plant tile they like out of the bag. For the skeleton, the top ability is Dig, which allows the player to clear all the tokens out of one spot in their garden. If the spot contains gold coins, the player gets to keep them and spend them later. If the spot contains plant or ornament tiles, these are instead discarded back into the box. For the ghoul, the top ability is Rummage, which allows the player to take a random token from the bag. The second ability is Steal, allowing the player to take any token from another player, gold coin, plant or ornament, so long as it's not already in their garden. The players also have the option to hire a new monster from the special monsters face up by the table. To do so, the player must remove a card in their hand from the game, chuck it back in the box to show this. They must then pay the gold cost of the special monster shown here at the top of the card, and immediately play that monster to the greenhouse grid. This monster is now a permanent member of your gardening crew, so make sure to mark it with one of your player tokens to ensure you get it back at the end of the turn. Once the greenhouse grid is full, the players with the highest total skill in a row or column get first dibs on tiles. Second place grabs the remaining tile, whilst third and fourth get a gold coin instead. If the number is ever tied, we go by player order instead. Next is the planting phase, where players must put the plant tiles they've gained this round onto their garden board, even if they're bad for the player. They also have the choice, if they can afford it, to build the ornament tiles gained during bidding. Each plant and ornament will score at the end of the game based on how it is placed in the player's garden. Remember these scoring cards above the greenhouse grid? These will tell us how this scoring works. For Gloomy Blooms, it doesn't matter where they're placed. They'll give you 2 victory points. Pumpkins like to grow in patches, which is any square or rectangular shape of at least 2 pumpkins. Lone pumpkins score 1 victory point, whilst those in a patch score 3 victory points each. Evil Eipels like to grow in rows and columns. Each Eipel is worth victory points equal to the size of row or column it is in. So in a row of 3 Eipels, each plant is worth 3 victory points. Just remember that a plant can only be scored once, so if an Eipel is used in a row of 4 and a column of 2, for example, it could only be used in the row or column, not both. Moonflowers are similar to Evil Eipels, except they prefer to grow in diagonals. Blood oranges like to be surrounded by unique things. For each different tile, a blood orange will be worth 1 additional victory point. Note that this includes gold coins still in the garden, or any ornaments under plants, for example the cheeky urn. Now, ornament tiles work a bit differently. To place them in their garden, the player must pay gold. They also have the choice to discard the ornament tile to the box for a gold coin instead, or to hold them from round to round until they want to use them. The gnomes start cheap, but each one is more expensive than the last. The first gnome will cost the player 1 gold coin and gain them 2 victory points at the end of the game. The second gnome will cost 2 gold, but will garner 5 victory points for the player instead, and so on up to 4 gnomes. Please note that these victory points are total, not the amount of victory points earned per gnome. Urns work like the double-letter score in Scrabble. Costing 2 gold coins to build, after placement in the player's garden they can then place any plant tile on top of it. At the end of the game, that plant tile's score is doubled. The last ornament is the all-or-nothing fountain. Comprising of 4 corners, each tile will cost 2 gold coins to build. Each is worth no victory points alone, but if the player can build all 4 tiles, they earn a whopping 20 victory points. Once players have finished planting, building, or discarding ornament tiles, the tidy-up phase happens. Each player collects their monsters from the greenhouse grid and places them next to their garden board as a discard. If that player's hand is now empty, they pick up all 6 monster cards in their discard to form a new hand. Place new tiles from the bag onto each greenhouse space. Then, discard all face-up cards in the special monsters row and replace them with 4 new face-up cards from the deck. Finally, pass the Scarecrow first player marker clockwise, ready to start the next round. After 4 rounds, the game is over and it's time to score. Using the handy scorepad, tally up each player's points for the plants and ornaments in their garden, plus any bonus points earned from their secret objective card. The player with the most victory points wins. If the winner is tied, the first tiebreaker is the player with the most gold left at the end of the game.